Hi everybody. Just wanted to make a quick little video and kind of go over why I chose Plexus and what a difference it has made in my life. My name is Becky, and many of you remember me as a little girl growing up in Houston. While others of you met me when I was a teenager. But you know, for the most part, everyone knows where I came from, what I've been through, and I appreciate that everyone has stuck with me and will continue to stick with me on my journey. A quick little back history for those that don't know. I was born and raised in a religious organization that can be classified as a cult, and it's a very strict, kind of old-fashioned religious organization where ultimately I suffered mental, emotional abuse, not only from my parents but from the church itself. And so growing up, I became a very shy and sheltered child, very anxious all the time, and living within that little bubble, I felt kind of a false protection, and formed friendships, and as time went by, I became sort of a rebellious teenager, which ultimately led to me being kicked out of my parents' house. I was 18 and fell flat on my face in the real world. And through circumstances, I just continued to be burdened with a lot of stress. Stress from my childhood, stress from my father dying when I was 7 years old. He had lung cancer. Was on my own at 18, fell in love with the first boy that told me I was beautiful. He was not in the church I grew up in, so, I believed him and stuck by his side while he was in prison for over 6 years. Ultimately, he introduced me to drugs. I tried quite a bit, so, that definitely took a toll on my system. And then while he was in prison, I got a lot of stress from work. I now know that a lot of my anxiety and stuff was because I was showing codependent behaviors, which can be very stressful. I wanted to make everybody happy, even if that included forgetting about myself. I was happy if other people were happy, but when you have a lot of people around you, you can't make everybody happy. So there was always someone who was upset, and when they were upset at me, I took that very hard. And so ultimately, fast forward, the guy I married, who was in prison, we ended up getting divorced, and I ended up back in Dallas, where I hooked up with really good friends who were there to support me, sort of help me get back on my feet, and they were the ones that could see a change in me. They knew me as the teenager who had just come out of the cult, and then they could see a big change in me. They could see behavior changes, mood changes. They watched me go from being able to carry very heavy objects to having no strength at all. About 2009, I came down with the flu, which lasted about 2 weeks. I had a fever over 102. and it would stay between like 100, 102. So for a good 2 weeks, I was out of work. Spent most of the time on the couch. I was hurting really bad. I had the body aches and, on top of the fever and just feeling horrible, as everyone knows what the flu feels like. And that's just something you have to kind of let your body work out, because it's a virus, so medications aren't going to just wipe it away. But after the fever broke, and I was able to return to work, within a few months, I realized, I still feel really bad. I feel like I have body aches all the time. I'm very tired. I was, always felt stressed. My stress level was here, and, so anything that came along that added to that stress, just really pushed me over the edge. And I would, kind of take everything out of proportion. So a year went by, and I was getting more and more symptoms. I was having more and more migraines every time the weather would change. But like the barometric pressure, I would seem to have a horrible headache. I knew when we were going to have storms coming through. I started getting joint pain in my elbows and wrists and stuff. And I would tell people, it just feels like there's, I don't really know. It's just this pain. It feels swollen. And a friend talked me into going to the doctor. Blood work was done. Couldn't really find anything that was obvious. Oh, you have a vitamin deficiency. Let's put you on vitamin D. Oh, your iron is really low, so let's put you on an iron supplement. And going through those treatments, I didn't just have a complete turnaround in how I felt. Of course, blood levels looked better. And so they referred me over to a rheumatologist, and they said, your choice would be a rheumatologist or a neurologist. The things I was describing in my head, having it felt like lightning. Yeah, it would be sort of in one point, and then it would just sort of crawl across my head. And so it didn't really hurt. It was just more annoying. I was having feelings of part of my face just melting, and I would run up to people and say, "Hey, look at my face. Does it look weird? Does it look like half my face is sagging?" And they're like, "No, Beck, what's wrong with you? You look totally fine." But to me, it literally felt like half my face was just melting off. So the rheumatologist did a cursory exam, and they have all these different things that they want to do, check different points. They do blood work, and she decided that I was going to be diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. And it's kind of one of those disorders where they're like, well, you have, this bucket full of symptoms, so we're going to put you in kind of this umbrella category, and you have this. So now that we have a diagnosis, they decided, let's try you on some medications. So I went through multiple medications, trying to find stuff that helped me feel better. I ended up ultimately going on 2 different blood pressure medications. They had noticed that my blood pressure was a little elevated, and so they said, that's important when you get that down. With the pain and stuff I was feeling, they put me ultimately on 4 different types of pain medications. I ended up on multiple vitamins, continued with the vitamin D. So, I had a handful of medications that at a very young age, I was having to take 2-3 times a day. But if I didn't take those medications, my symptoms were still there. The medications, were acting kind of like a Band-Aid. And they said, well, this autoimmune disorder is something that you're probably always going to have, and you just need to kind of supportive care, find something that makes you comfortable so that, you can function to the best of your ability. And I kind of decided, okay, I guess that's the way life's going to be. And in my line of work, I'm a veterinary technician, so I work with animals every day, all day. I love it. It's my passion. And the place I was working at, I was there for 10 years. And, towards the end, I think ultimately it was my symptoms that pushed me to a point where I was having really bad mood swings. I was in so much pain that, I'm crying all the time. It was like I couldn't fit in anymore. And I was scared. Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to have to quit? Am I not going to be able to work? What am I going to do? I'm by myself. And I have a zoo of animals I got to take care of. So I ended up having to quit. Went to work for another veterinary hospital where I currently am, and that there's stress, not to the degree that I had. I miss my old clinic. I miss my coworkers and miss the doctors, miss the patients especially. I'm not working with birds and reptiles at my new clinic. But at my new clinic, it's a completely different structure. It's completely different people. So I was able to kind of take a step back. And very early on, it was probably summertime. My sister-in-law, Becca, decided she was going to try these products called by a company called Plexus, and she herself was diagnosed with some stomach issues. She'd had them since she was a kid, and she tried a whole bunch of different medications and vitamins, and kind of the same thing I had done. So I watched her start the Plexus products, and over several months, I realized she wasn't telling me that she was in discomfort. She was happy and enjoying life, and she was just feeling a major difference. So around Christmas time, December 2015, Becca said, look, hey, I'm going to start being a distributor for the Plexus products. So why don't you consider joining me, and let's just try you on some products, and what harm can it do? Either it's going to make a difference, or it's just going to be another supplement that kind of Band-Aid covers things. So I said, sure, why not? Let's try it. So I ordered my Triplex combo, which includes the Slim Pink Drink. It has the ProBio 5, which is a great probiotic, and then also the BioCleanse, which helps to oxygenate your organs and your blood, and just really benefits your whole system, and it helps to get the toxins out of your body on a daily basis. It's not just a quick cleanse, weekend cleanse, woo, let's get you clean. No, it's a long-term, lifelong change. And so, starting in January, within a few weeks of starting my products, I noticed I was sleeping all night. I wasn't waking up every hour on the hour for no apparent reason. I noticed that I had more energy. I was still, I was my bubbly self, but I felt better. I was awake and able to go to work, and just was able to get through the day. The pain I was feeling in my lower back, was able to go get diagnosed with having disc problems, and I was blessed to meet a chiropractor who practices a little different type of technique than your typical chiropractor. So I started going to him, and ultimately I fired my other chiropractor that was just down the street from me here in Mesquite, and it's made a world of difference between the Plexus products as well as the chiropractic therapy that I'm receiving. I don't have the constant sciatic pain. My posture is better. He was able to, do x-rays and determined that my neck curves completely the wrong way, which is a sign in people that have autoimmune disorders. So it was crazy. He was able to point things out and tell me some things from past events that he didn't have any clue about, other than, hey, this is what I'm seeing in your bones and your joints, and that typically means XYZ. And I was like, wow, this is crazy, this is amazing. So between taking my Plexus products and doing my chiropractic care, I have realized how important these Plexus products are. I mean, they're not just a fad. They're not a weight loss program. You're not going to take these products and then, next week lose 30 pounds and be skinny mini for summer. It's a process where, I'm 38 years old. So it took 38 years for me to get to this point. It took 38 years for me to be overweight. I yo-yoed. I lost 50 pounds a few years ago, and I, kept it off for about a year. And then when someone told me, hey, you should try the inflammation diet,